Welcome to our cozy corner of tales and legends, where the magic of far-off lands comes alive. Tonight, we journey to the enchanting realms of Scandinavia, where the brave gods and goddesses of Norse mythology await. In this ancient land of wonder, the fate of the world hangs in the balance as the legendary tale of Ragnarok unfolds. Let's begin our epic adventure through the icy landscapes and mystical worlds of Norse lore.
Ragnarok, the last battle. Loki had been punished for his misdeeds, and he was bound to the rocks for all eternity. But Balder was also no longer in Asgard, and so it was not the beautiful place that it once was. The gods were still there, going about their daily work. But the sunshine and summer had lost their lustre, and they felt dull and lifeless. And then came a terrible winter that no god or man had ever seen before. The days were short and the nights cold and long. Thunderous storms followed one after another, leaving mountains of snow behind. Ferocious winds blew across the sky, and the waves in the sea tossed angrily. The air and the land was frozen, and despair filled the hearts of the gods and men alike. The birds and animals went into hibernation. Plants withered and were buried under the snow. The rivers froze, and the sunshine could not penetrate the thick mists. The whole earth was buried in winter so severe that even the gods in Asgard shivered. The short days and long nights followed one after another, and soon came the time for the summer months to start. Everyone's hearts filled with hope, and they looked up into the sky from which the snow steadily fell and said, "Tomorrow is the day the sun will shine. Tomorrow is the day that summer will come." But the sun did not shine, and the summer never came. All through the months of summer, when the crops should have been sown and harvested, the fields and hills covered with green and filled with flowers, there was only snow and cold icy winds blowing throughout the land. The summer never came, not that year, nor the next, for this was the terrible Fimbul winter, which had been foretold by prophets from the beginning of time. The gods in Asgard worried about the continuous winter, but the frost giants in Jotunheim were joyous, and they shouted in happiness across the howling winds, "The Fimbul winter has come at last!" The men on earth shuddered with cold and fear and hesitantly asked, "Can it be the Fimbul winter?" And when the winter dragged on with no end, their doubts were confirmed. There was a lack of food, as there had been no harvesting and no summer, and so the people waged war against one another, fighting for food supplies and other necessities. In Asgard, the gods just waited patiently for the winter to end. 3 years passed without anyone seeing the sun, feeling the warm wind from the south, or seeing the blossoming of a single flower. And 3 more years of colder, darker winters followed. Then one day when the sun rose, dim and faint, a loud howl was heard throughout the land, and a great wolf from the underworld sprang up and leapt upon the sun. All day long the mournful howl was heard, and the wolf chased the sun and slowly gained on it. And then at the end of the day, when the sun sank beneath the snow-covered mountains, the wolf took a giant leap and ate the sun. The glow from the setting sun turned into darkness, and it was the last sunset. Dull and faint in colour, the moon rose, but then the mournful howl was heard again. A second giant wolf sprang up from the underworld and devoured the moon. Then came an awful darkness, when the stars in the night sky fell down upon the earth, one after the other, and were buried under the mounds of snow. The end had come. Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods, was close at hand, and the last battle was soon to be fought. The music from a prophetic harp could be heard over the land. The earth shook, the mountains crumbled and fell, and all chains were broken. Loki, freed from his chains, walked out of his cavern, his heart burning with hate and revenge against the gods. The Fenris wolf was also released from the chains that bound him, and the Midgard serpent rose towards the land, its long writhing body foaming up the entire seas and causing the water to spill over onto the land. From every corner the enemies of the gods came to Vigrid, the large plain where the last battle was to be held. It was 100 miles wide on either side. To the battlefield came the Fenris wolf. Its tremendous jaws opened so wide that they touched the heaven and the earth. The Midgard serpent, whose eyes burned fiercely and mouth spewed floods of venom. Hel and Loki, the frost giants marching behind their leader Hrym, and last of all, the fire giants led by Surt from Muspelheim, the fire world. The long line of enemies stretched across the wide plain, when Heimdall, standing on Bifrost, the rainbow bridge, blew the Gjallar horn to call the gods to the battlefield. The Yggdrasil tree trembled as if its roots were loosened, and the three fates sat quietly, without weaving any destinies, as their work was now complete. When Heimdall blew the horn a second time, the gods rode out of Asgard to join the battle at Vigrid. They were led by Odin with his shining armor and golden helmet. There was a momentary silence as the two armies faced each other, and then it was time for the last battle to begin. Shouts of rage rose from the frost giants as they rushed into battle, and flames burst from the fire giants' shields as they moved forward. The Fenris wolf howled wildly, and the Midgard serpent raised its scaly length and got ready to strike. The battle cry of the gods sounded loud and clear as they advanced upon the field fearlessly and faced their enemies. Thor and Odin started off together, but were soon separated. Odin sprang upon the Fenris wolf, but after a terrible fight was devoured by the wolf. Thor faced his bitter enemy, the Midgard serpent, and after a ferocious battle managed to slay it. But as the monster died, it gathered all its folds and spewed a deadly flood of venom over Thor. Thor walked only 9 steps before he fell down on the battlefield. The god Frey encountered the giant Surt. Frey could not defend himself as he had given away his sword to Skirnir in order to win his bride, Gerd. He was thus slain in the battle. The ferocious dog Garm rushed upon Tyr, and both were killed, as Tyr was missing his right hand, which he had lost when the Fenris wolf was bound. The battle was now at its heights, and gods, giants, and monsters were all fighting for survival. Heimdall and Loki fought against each other and fell together. Odin's son Vidar rushed upon the Fenris wolf and killed it. Then Surt, the fire giant, went to the center of the battlefield and threw a flaming firebrand between the worlds. There was a moment of silence, then a sudden rush of air, a destructive heat, and then the whole universe burst into flames. A roaring fire filled all the worlds. The great tree Yggdrasil burned down into ashes, and the whole earth slowly sank beneath the sea. There was no sun or moon, no stars, no earth, no Asgard or Jotunheim. Gods, giants, men, and monsters had all died. What was left was only a vast abyss filled with the sea and a pale, gloomy light that cast a colourless glow upon it. Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods and the last day of earth, had come. The end.
As we conclude the epic tale of Ragnarok, we're reminded that even in the darkest of times, courage and honor can shine through. The Storywaves app, available on Apple and Android app stores, is your gateway to exploring more captivating stories from Norse mythology and cultures worldwide. A Storywaves subscription costs less than $1 a month, making it one of the most affordable ways to bring quality stories to your family. All new stories, including exclusive content, are available on the app, where you'll discover the most exciting adventures. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Spotify for updates on upcoming content. Thank you warmly for watching Ragnarok, The Last Battle.